welcome back to Whisky Wednesday. We are finally back in the shop and I'm here to talk to you about something quite special. Now, in the past we have worked very closely with Mark a Littler Limited. I know Mark, he's a really good guy and he's helped out this channel by letting us try some really cool whiskies. This week and next week are by far the coolest. Now let me bring this in the shop and hopefully it won't go out of shop because this camera is a bit of a pain for focusing. Either way, you'll see it on the B-roll. This is a sample of Macallan Private Eye. Will it focus? It won't focus. Let's do that. There we go. Still working all this new equipment out. This thing, I believe I am maybe the second and or third person to ever review it. I think at this point of filming it, I might be the second. Whisky Fun have reviewed it in the past, famously. Quite recently, to be fair. When I say the past, Mark sent the sample to them. It was the same part of this sample. The cork is missing quite a chunk of it, so I imagine that was maybe why it was easier to open a sample of this. But this whiskey is probably the most, not the most, but one of the most famous Macallan bottlings of all time. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. Launched in 1996 for the wonderful sum of £36 a bottle. It now roughly trades for around £3,500 to £4,000 a bottle. The artwork on it, that beautiful screen print, was done by Ralph Steadman, famous kind of gonzo illustrator. He's worked with Private Eye on numerous occasions, along with, he's wrote his own whiskey book, he's done his own sort of whiskey illustrations before, not just for Macallan, but for a few others. So there's a lot of clashing and melding together of all of these different moments of whiskey brilliance coming together. The official bottle of Macallan Private Eye is pretty much the same as this, just bigger, and it allows you to give a couple of facts. So on the back, this whiskey is commemorating the 35th anniversary of Private Eye magazine, and has been selected by whiskey maker F.A. Newlands, that was Frank Newlands. The Macallan distillery, it includes cask number 1580, bonded in 1961, and this 40% alcohol at 5 centilitre. So we know that one cask in this was at least from 1961, which upon its release means there's some 35-year-old Macallan stock in this from sherry casks. Pretty outrageous. Apologies if the lighting and everything's going a little bit mad. It's my first time shooting in the shop with this camera. But let's smell, let's taste. I am going to score it, despite the fact that no one can legally buy this. Some people watching this might be able to buy this whiskey on auction. I can't afford to buy it. But we're going to score it because it's a Macallan. People want to know what we think. So let's taste, let's smell, or the other way around. It's quite dry. It's not as kind of soft and fruity as other Macallan. It's got more of an older, leatherier smell to it. But there are some classic Macallan notes in there. We've got this beautiful kind of orange peel note, but it's burnt, like if you see people flame orange over cocktails. Gooey kind of caramelly chocolates. There's quite a lot of that in there. Your classic raisin note. I always get like orange fondant, like chocolate orange fondant with Macallan. That's a big thing for me in Macallan. And leather things. That's quite vague, so let me be a little bit more specific. But it has this very intense aroma of like patinaed leather, old worn leather shoes, like leather wallets, leather belts, that kind of smell as you open your wardrobe or your drawers and you get this just smell of old leather. But there's also a nice plummy note to it as well. So it is still fresh. It's not as kind of raisin and figgy and Christmas cakey as like an older bottling of Macallan 12 or even some of the older bottles of Macallan 18. But it does have this very, very nice mix of all of that. does remind me a lot actually of Macallan 18, like the first time I ever tried Macallan 18, which I think was a 1990 bottling. It's got a lot of that going on. There's some faint ginger in there, a little bit of vanilla too. All the good stuff you want from Macallan is in there. Taste. It being 40% is a little bit of a letdown, but I'm not going to hold that against it. The arrival is very much classic Macallan. Orange peel, more of that chocolatey stuff. Led slightly more by that plum note I got towards the end with a bit more vanilla, a little bit more cask influence too. The finish is quite interesting. It has this mixture of very, very, very slight sulphuriness. You could just mistake it for a barrel char. Indeed, most people would probably mistake it for just charred wood. There's a burn element going on with it. There's a tiny bit of brown sugar. As much as I hate saying it, because it's always said with sherry cask whiskey, there is quite a lot of Christmas cake, like that very richly marinated fruit note. And in a very pleasant way, there's a little bit of mint with a touch of like cigar box as well. I haven't read Whisky Fun's review, and I believe Vin at No Nonsense Whisky will also be reviewing this at some point, and I've not seen his review because I just wanted to remain unbiased about what I tasted. So it tastes a lot like classic Macallan. Even at the end now, there's a slight like bitterness, like an earthy bitterness of like macadamia nut, some sort of nut, maybe almond as well. Drying, slightly bitter. That cigar thing is really coming out more now. It's not a smokiness. I want to make that clear. It is that aroma of tobacco leaf and opening a cigar box. That's what it is. It's not smoke. It's not like a peated style of whiskey. The finish again becoming a little bit more sulfur driven. There's like a slight coppery note to it. Very dark chocolate, like really, really dark chocolate. If you've ever tried like 100% cocoa, it almost verges into like a blue cheese sort of taste, and it's having that now. Again, I apologise if you see the brightness going a little bit mad on this. It can't seem to decide what it wants to do. That's quite nice. I will say, possibly quite controversial, I don't think it's as nice as things like Macallan Edition 2, and I don't think even Macallan Edition 6, which I did quite enjoy. Those two are my favourite editions. It does have a remnants of Macallan 18 about it, and older Macallan stock. I mean, we know that something from 1961 is within this, right? So that slight smokiness, the sulphuriness, that old leather chocolatey thing, the bitterness of it as well. But it is pleasant. It's not a bad whiskey in any way. I give that like an 8. I don't think it's not like it's not a mind-blowing whiskey. It's particularly famous and extremely collectible, but it's not mind-blowing liquid. You know, I've tried like I think Ardnamurchan Merkin is better in terms of just and that's only £40 a bottle, not 4,000. But yeah, that's Macallan Private Eye. I've linked loads of Mark's stuff below. Like he's done several videos on this, and there's a link to like his investment reports and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's Macallan Private Eye. I'm Phil, we're back in the whiskey shop, and I'm giving that a solid 8 out of 10. Thank you all for watching. I hope you like the new sort of vibe we've got, and we'll see you all next week for some more Mark Littler stuff, which I think a lot of you are going to enjoy. See you around.